Hey everybody, what's happening yet again? Aha, ho ho. So we are going to do a little PowerPoint action on the Qin and Han dynasties. We didn't have much of a chance to talk about them as much as I would like to have. So here we go. We know that the Qin dynasty was legalist, harsh penalties, strict laws. Um, and the Qin emperor was Qin Shuagandi, which means the first emperor. And you can see that for the most part, that is what's it's gonna look like. Obviously, not all of China, but this is as big as you're gonna get at that time, and which is still huge. And then these black lines up here are going to be the Great Wall, which we will talk about in a little bit. We know that they followed legalism, strong military, strong agriculture, did not believe in education. Remember, they murdered those scholars, buried them alive, like 400 of them. All right, burned books, and did a lot of what was called conscription or forced labor of the peasant class, and they had them build these huge building projects like the Great Wall, Grand Canal, etc., etc. Legalism, their government officials were considered censors. They increased the government power by overseeing government workers to make sure they did their job. They followed the laws, made sure people followed the laws, and if they did not, they were severely punished. However, now there's some good things, like people are like, well, why does legalism happen and why does this work? And it does some good things, and it created order for China. All right, and we talked about the economic and political importance of creating currency and what that does to stabilize society. Simplified the writing system. Up to then, it had thousands and thousands of symbols in the Chinese writing, and he greatly brought that down so that it made it more easily learned by people. He had these huge building projects, and I'll show you. But the Great Wall and this Grand Canal were two things that were absolutely huge, and then his tomb as well. And we talked about the terracotta soldiers there. I'll show you some pictures here. But I think it's important that you note in 1974 they found, so not too long ago, they found his tomb and had 8,000 clay soldiers. And when you break down, if they were around for 16 years, sorry, I forgot to do the math, so I'm going to do it right now. So if you have let's say 16 years times 365, that's 5,840. Well, then you divide 8,000 divided by 5,840, and you get 1.3 terracotta soldiers being made each day for his tomb. And so we'll see here some pictures. And I think, like when you think about this tomb had all of these just lining. Imagine building, get back there. Imagine, look how big that place is. It is incredible, filled with soldiers and these horses and all of these elaborate things. And so he took these to his tomb to protect him in the afterlife. The Grand Canal. And it doesn't do it much justice, but imagine with no power tools or anything like that, building or digging a canal this wide, this deep, with roads on both sides, as you can see here, from essentially Detroit, Michigan to Orlando, Florida. That's how long this was, and people dug that by hand. It was on average at least 6 feet deep, and it was used to move goods across China, east and west. Absolutely amazing that they were able to do this. Uh, Next, we got the Great Wall. This was done to keep the nomads out of China, and it's going to be built over the centuries. This is not just the Qin dynasty that built it and it was done. It is going to continuously be added to the point that it is today. The Qin rule, because it was so nasty, people hated it, right? And revolted against it. And enter into the picture, the Han Dynasty. All right, the Han Dynasty is going to last for 400 years, is going to be a stabilizing force in China's history. And the main emperor that you're going to, probably the most famous that you'll know from the Han Dynasty is Han Wudi. All right. He adopted, or the Han Dynasty adopted Confucian policies. Education was super important. And during this time period, it is going to expand to over 60 million people, the empire. They conquered area in Korea, Southeast Asia, like into Vietnam and Laos and that, in northern India. And under them, they knew peace for 150 years. And that's a long, long time to know peace. Confucian ideas of like filial piety helped to stabilize the government and strengthen the family unit. However, remember, at the price of being patriarchal and putting women below men. So that was not a good thing. The inventions that happened, the cast iron plow, so that they could plow the fields better, water wheels, wheelbarrows, silk, obviously starting the Silk Road. We'll learn more about silk. Paper was first invented by the Han Dynasty. Toilet paper, thank you, Han Dynasty. Rudders on ships and sails that allowed them to sail against the wind were created during this time period. Medical advances, they tried to prevent disease using foods and herbs and oils. Acupuncture, ow, 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 looks like it hurts. The Silk Road, we learn more about that. And you can see, I think just the Silk Road's going over to the north of China and India into Persia and Europe. And then also look at the blue, the Indian Ocean Basin trade here that goes into Indonesia and into East Africa, as well as Persia and up into the Mediterranean. Super, super important. Goods that were traded, all types of stuff, whether it was food, manufactured goods, whatever, all went across the Silk Roads, as well as religions. And one of the main ones that come out of the classical period moving is Buddhism. And you can see that Buddhism is going to originate in India, and it's going to expand into China, the Korean Peninsula, and then over into Japan over the centuries. And then finally, why did the Han collapse? People began to rise up and rebel against the rulers, corrupt officials. And remember, under Confucianism, you're not supposed to be corrupt. So when it started to occur, it just crumbled everything from within. The family started to fight against one another, and it just all went south. So there you go. There is the Qin and Han dynasties. Thanks so much. I will talk to you guys later. Hold on, are you still here? This is awkward. Okay, I'll see you.